Good morning, 10th grade. Good to be back with you guys. I still miss you all very much. Getting to see your faces, I found out that even as an introvert, I really play off of my students when it comes to teaching. But good to see your posts. Look forward to reading through those and getting to maybe interact a little bit more through discussion posts instead of just having you turn in assignments, because I know you probably want to interact with each other a little bit more as well. Just been trying to ease us in. I want to start off with prayer and a quick little devotional reading, and then I will go over just the highlights of what we need to make sure that we're doing for today and a tad bit about our town. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen with you guys once again. Getting better at this, hopefully. Okay, now remember to email me prayer requests, or you can share them in the chat. I want to know how to specifically pray for you guys, so feel free to do that. And if everyone will bow their heads, we're going to be still for just a moment. Dear Lord, thank you for this morning, this day that you have given to us. Thank you for your goodness, that you are a God who is in control, and that you are a God who is good, and that the truth of your gospel is still central. And I ask that you would help us to be reminded of that today. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, now I want to share something from my man, Lewis. You all know that I'm a little obsessed with him. But in the book, The Problem of Pain, there's a section that I want to read to you all. Now, The Problem of Pain was actually written before Mere Christianity. Mere Christianity is way more popular. It's also easier to follow. And the reason for that is that Mere Christianity was originally, some of you may know this, a series of radio broadcasts through the religion department of the BBC during World War II. So they had to actually relocate different parts of the BBC and broadcast them in different cities throughout England because of the German bombs that were coming in. And so the religion department, they were afraid they were going to lose people. They knew that some of the ways that they had been doing things before wasn't going to reach people during that national crisis. And so they ended up trying to find someone who could speak to people more personally and bring it down for them to understand, not water it down, but speak to their hearts where they were at. And they ended up discovering C.S. Lewis through his book, The Problem of Pain. They read it. He was just an academic guy. He hadn't been on the radio before. He wasn't really a popular author, wasn't really a children's author yet. And so this was kind of a little bit of where it started. So I'm going to read a section to you, and I want you to keep in mind that when Lewis writes these things, he is writing as a guy not locked away in his study and not involved in the world. He was writing as a guy who lived with this older woman that he had agreed to take care of as though she were his mother. She wasn't his mom, but her son, one of his friends in World War I, had been killed, and they had promised that they would care for each other's family if anything happened. And so Lewis did that. He took care of, her name was Mrs. Moore, and her daughter, and really helped to raise this other family, and it was not always easy. He also had his brother that would pop in time to time, and sometimes that was great. And then also his brother was an alcoholic, and so he really had to deal with being concerned for him. He had students that were going through the war, and he also wanted to sign up to be able to participate in the war effort in World War II. So he wasn't just locked away in his room doing nothing and reading Shakespeare. He was actually being affected by the rations, and they also housed children. You see this influence in the Chronicles of Narnia, but they actually had children come and stay with them because they lived more out in the country. So children from London, when they would go and stay with other people's houses, Lewis and Mrs. Moore were part of that, and most of them were little girls. So this man who had never been married, never had children, was in his 30s and 40s, was having little girls running around his house away from their parents, and he's having to help take care of them. So in the middle of all this, we've got Mere Christianity, but before that, the problem of pain. And Lewis will tell you, he says it in his works, I do not handle pain well. I do not handle suffering well. I'm just telling you what Christianity says, but he says it with realness and with compassion. So here we go. He says, by the goodness of God, we mean nowadays almost exclusively his lovingness, and in this we might be right. And by love in this context, most of us mean kindness, the desire to see others than the self happy. Not happy in this way or in that, but just happy. What would really satisfy us would be a God who said of anything we happen to like doing, what does it matter, so long as they are contented? We want, in fact, not so much a father in heaven as a grandfather in heaven, a senile benevolence who, as they say, like to see the young people enjoying themselves, and whose plan for the universe was simply that it might be truly said at the end of each day, a good time was had by all. Not many people, I admit, would formulate a theology in precisely those terms, but a conception not very different lurks at the back of many minds. I do not claim to be an exception. I should like very much to live in a universe which was governed on such lines. But since it is abundantly clear that I don't, and since I have reason to believe, nevertheless, that God is love, I conclude that my conception of love needs correction. I might indeed have learned, even from the poets, that love is something more stern and splendid than mere kindness, that even the love between the sexes is, as in Dante, a lord of terrible aspect. There is a kindness in love, but love and kindness are not coterminous or the same thing. And when kindness, in the sense given above, is separated from the other elements of love, it involves a certain fundamental indifference to its object, and even something like contempt of it. Kindness consents very readily to the removal of its object. We have all met people whose kindness to animals is constantly leading them to kill animals lest they should suffer. Kindness, merely as such, cares not whether its object becomes good or bad, provided only that it escapes suffering. As Scripture points out, it is bastards who are spoiled. The legitimate sons, who are to carry on the family tradition, are punished. It is for people who we care nothing about that we demand happiness on any terms. With our friends, our lovers, our children, we are exacting and would rather see them suffer much than be happy in contemptible and estranging modes. If God is love, he is, by definition, something more than mere kindness. And it appears from all the records that though he has often rebuked us and condemned us, he has never regarded us with contempt. He has paid us the intolerable compliment of loving us in the deepest, most tragic, most inexorable sense. All right. So maybe I'll read more from him in the future. All right. Next, I want to go ahead and share what are we focusing on doing today. So your goals. One is to continue reading Our Town Act 3. And there is a quiz tomorrow. It will be 10 questions, multiple choice, just to make sure that you've read or listened to the video, that you've been coherent and alive. The other thing you're going to want to do is do the simplicity discussion post. That's one initial post to the questions I put, and then 2 responses. You can pick whichever 2 classmates that you want to respond to. On your own, you're reading your novel and studying vocabulary. And then I want to go over some things that are coming up. So first, the listening assignment is due tomorrow, and what I will do is explain my reasoning behind that after we have done it. So I just want you to trust me with it. It does have a real purpose behind it, and I'm already seeing multiple different responses. So, and they're ones that I've had that people have had when doing this type of an assignment. The other thing, make sure you answer the survey tomorrow. That's just telling me things that worked this week, things that didn't work. I'm trying to really make sure that I keep in touch with you guys and get a lot of feedback as much as possible. Also, your creative assignment that's due Tuesday, April 7th, I'm going to go over that a little bit more so that you have some clarity on some expectations. And of course, you can email or contact me in the chat. Remember, if the chat's not working, most of the messages have come through, but today I got some that were sent yesterday and I didn't get them to today. So try to refresh it. And then if I'm not able to respond, within, say, we'll say 30 minutes, even though I'm constantly checking, just allow for some technological, things. Go ahead and email me. That way, you don't feel abandoned. I don't want you to feel that way. So, all right. The novel, some of you have asked, this is also posted on the individual novel page, but I know you're still trying to find everything. You have to have your novel read by the 15th. Now, you're not going to get a bad grade if you have to read it a few days afterward. What I'm trying to do is provide you with a good guideline so you feel equipped and ready to write your worldview paper, okay? So that's why I put that deadline there again, so that you're not freaking out at the last minute. Okay. Just a heads up for you guys. So Old Man in the Sea, we're not going to start that till after Easter. I want to give you a full week of having to worry about reading nothing but your individual novel, okay? I know some of you have already read your individual novel. Some of you haven't been able to start yet. So I want to make sure that I provide some cushion there for that. Um, don't worry about Great Gatsby. If we get to it, I may even abridge it. So we're just taking this one step at a time, and I will work with you guys and kind of monitor how we're doing, okay? All right, so some tips for today. One thing that I thought of and that I'm going to do is to write letters or notes. I'm going to create a family mailbox system. They don't know that yet, to where I can write my family letters, because I don't know. I'm the type of person in college and even at work, I look in the mailbox and I'm like, does somebody love me? And if I see a letter there, then I'm really happy. Or just a quick note. So I want to, make sure that we still have connections with people. That's just a fun thing. It may not be something that's your thing. That's okay. It's just a thought of leaving notes around the house, even for people to find, just to be encouraging. Also, I would think about, I've asked my pastor, are there any people who are holed up, who can't get out at all? So maybe like a shut-in at your church that you could write a letter to, or even make a phone call to brighten their day and encourage them. So that's something to think about as well. Really something that we should think about more when things are normal, but obviously it comes to mind more when you're also shut up in your room. So, okay. Take breaks. I'm bad about this, so I'm going to try to do a little bit better, but do make sure you take a break. I mean, think about it this way: when you're in um, the classroom, you get to leave every 50 minutes. Now, online, sitting down, I would actually give yourself a break, maybe every 30 minutes instead. It's just a thought. Also, this is something I learned over the past few years. If you're having a hard time going to sleep, um, there is something, a friend shared this with me, and I'm not a doctor, so I won't explain this extremely well, but something about looking at a screen, it messes with the melatonin in your body. And so if you are on a screen right before bed, it's harder for you to go to sleep. And so you need about 30 minutes to reset before bedtime. So this is not going to always be practical, because I know, again, some of you all are going to have to work later. I have to do that with my master's program as well, and even teaching. But if you can, try to cut off screen time at least 30 minutes before bedtime, especially if it's a phone or a computer. That way you can maybe fall asleep a little easier. It kind of helps your brain to relax. All right, now for our town. So a couple of highlights. I'm going to cover more tomorrow. I realize we have our quiz then, so watch the video before you take the quiz, and that'll help sum up some things for you as well. Okay, so this scene takes off 9 years later in 1913, so 9 years after the wedding. And it's set up with 10 to 12 chairs to create a cemetery. So what we would do if we were in the classroom is we would just take a bunch of chairs and set up like 3 different rows. The first row is going to have an empty chair, dun, dun, dun. And then you're going to have Mrs. Gibbs, so that's George's mother, and then Simon Stimson, who was the choir director that was drunk all the time. Then you have Miss Soames, if you remember her. She was the lady, she was gossiping after choir practice one day, but then at the end of the wedding scene, she was, oh, I love weddings, and isn't the point to be happy? And then there's some other people with her. And then in the third row, you have Wally Webb, so the younger brother of Emily, and some other people as well. The directions that are given for the dead actors, so they are not supposed to be lugubrious. The word for that is like that they're not supposed to be kind of slow and creepy and ugh, like they're dead, but they're also not supposed to be extremely animated. They're supposed to be very just stoic. And so that is an important thing to note when you're imagining this. And if you find videos of people performing this, then, you know, look at how they're portraying these characters. So Emily has an idea. Emily has died in childbirth, and they show her funeral. So she's the one that fills that empty chair. And she actually has, you know, a little boy that's still staying at other people's houses. So she's a young mother, died giving birth to one of her children. And she first arrives at the grave, and she's talking to the other people who have died as well. And she has this sudden idea of like, "Ah, we could go back. I could go back and live some memories over again, some things from life that were wonderful." And Mrs. Gibbs and everybody else is like, it's allowed, you can do it, but it's not recommended at all. And so she toys with this idea, and they're like, at least don't pick something that's extremely happy. Just pick something that was really ordinary. That's going to be upsetting for you enough. And the stage manager steps in and says, hey, yeah, because what you're going to see, you're not just going to live it out, but you're going to watch yourself live it out, and you're going to know the future, and that's going to be really difficult. So this is kind of almost an opposite to what Scrooge goes through in A Christmas Carol, right? Where he gets to see the past, the present, and then the future. Well, here she knows the future, and she's going back to see the past and what she would have missed there. So she goes back, she picks her 12th birthday, and I'm not going to spoil it for you guys that haven't read yet. I'll share more tomorrow for you. That way, um, you have a little bit more time to read. Okay. Here are some quotes to think about as you read. These are all things that Emily said. She said, I can't go on. It goes so fast. We don't have time to look at one another. That's on page 108. Do any human beings ever realize life while they live it? Every minute. That's all human beings are, just blind people. These are the revelations she has after her experience. So focus on those lines in particular. So again, more tomorrow before your quiz. I've got my works cited there. So one of the reasons that I'm not reading Our Town to you guys is there's some copyright issues, especially since it's a play. So I would encourage you guys, especially with this third scene, to see how it plays out. Look up some different productions. I've looked up a few. There's some, I didn't want to give you a pirated version. So that's one reason I didn't post one. And then also there are some that are well done, but the audio's a little hard. So I don't want to require you to watch one that is not necessarily well done as far as the audio goes. But if you are interested, if that helps you, go ahead, feel free to, you know, peruse the web and see what you can find there. Now, for your creative assignments, okay, what I want to do is go to our LMS page. I'm going to sneak here and go to Acts 1 and 2. Nope, that's the reading quiz. See, I'm still learning to navigate as well. Let me just go to the Our Town page. Okay, creative assignment. I put two options here to allow some flexibility. I'm grading you all really gently right now, okay? So don't worry about getting all the details perfect. The reason that I'm having you do this assignment is I want to provide as many ways possible to help you imagine and visualize this play, because plays really are meant to be read aloud, okay? One, you can pretend that you're going to direct the play. So this is a low-tech version. Create a cast list for your production. Assign roles to your family members, people at school, or famous actors and actresses. So you could open up that first page of the book that gives the cast list. Write down the names. You can do this on a Google Doc, a Word document. You could do it on notebook paper and just take a picture when you're done and upload it. But you're going to create that cast list and use your imagination. Who would you cast as who? This is related to something nerdy that my family does when we watch a movie. We kind of like to think of which people are similar to which characters. So you're going to submit this list with a sample prompt book. So I tried to provide different ways for you to do that. A prompt book includes the director's or actor's notes for extra blocking or insights into a character's thoughts and feelings. And I've given an example that um, is from 8th grade. It's from Romeo and Juliet. So you could just put some extra notes as to like where a character would stand, what they're thinking. If you have a little extra ad-libbed line, sometimes directors do that more with things that they've written themselves, but I'm going to give you some liberty with this. You could also think about, what's that character feeling at the moment? How would they deliver their lines? If you've got about 5 notes that you put down on that prompt book, that's fine. So you may want to copy 2 pages of Our Town and print them off to write on. I realize some of you may not have a printer or scanner, okay, so don't freak out. Or you can use sticky notes. So just be sure I can see the page numbers and the relevant text. So small sticky note, write your little stage direction, stick it on the page, then take a picture, and you can submit that way. You could, if you're a fast typer, you could type up the text and add your own notes in bold, but I'd only recommend this if you type quickly. If this is a hard assignment for you to do in terms of technology and things like that, just let me know and I'll brainstorm a way to help you out with it, okay? I don't want to stress you out on this. So you would either submit your cast list and prompt book as a Word document or take a picture and upload it. Okay. Option 2, this is similar. I know you guys, some of you have said you really like doing videos and uploading those. And if you can't upload it here, you can email me the link as well. So I'm going to be flexible with this. But either pretend you're creating an audio drama or a reader's theater. You're not posting it to a public place, so that's why you guys can do that. And I can't just, present a presentation for you guys. So pretend you're creating that audio drama or a reader's theater. So you can do this either all by yourself or you can recruit your family. So one, you could record yourself reading a monologue or dialogue, maybe just a couple lines about a page. And it needs to last, roughly 2 minutes. Okay, I'm not gonna, you're not gonna get an F if it's like 1 minute and 30 seconds or something. So try to experiment with changing your voice, even slightly for a character. You could do that. Or you could recruit people around your house to perform a section of Our Town. Don't feel the need to memorize, okay? Treat it like a dramatic reading. So you could have your family sitting around and you just record you guys doing this reading as expressively as possible. So you're the director. You can do simply just a reading, or you can include blocking set costumes, etc. if you have the extra time. I think most of you probably will not. So to earn full credit, you just need to be a performer as well. So I need to be able to hear you reading, see you reading. So I would treat it, if you think of like a final dress rehearsal, you could provide cues for your fellow actors. So it's not a polished performance. I can see you telling dad, hey, you need to speak up, or mom, stand over here. That's fine. Just want to see you really playing with this. So the purpose of this assignment is really just to play with the material as much as you can. If you have questions, if something's not working out for you, please, please, please let me know. I don't want this to be an unrealistic assignment for you guys, okay? So just make sure you communicate with me on that. So prompt book example is there, and it's really just a completion grade, okay? So there you go. I hope that it's helpful and that you get a chance to be able to play around with the material. All right. That's all that I have for you today. Again, email me, contact me through the chat. I look forward to hearing from you guys, and I will see you again tomorrow. Thanks.